Hello and welcome to the Usility Training broadcast. First, let's get a couple things out of the way. What is Usility and who am I? Usility is an online agile development solution that enables your business to utilize agile and Scrum methodologies to increase project and team efficiency. Usility's online interface allows your team to collaborate on a web-based kanban board, utilizing a simple-to-use drag-and-drop interface. With Usility, facilitating your agile workflow has never been easier. My name is Steve Stedman. You can follow me on Twitter as Usility Steve, and I am the founder of Usility.com. I'm a certified Scrum Master and certified Scrum Professional. Let's jump in and get started with the training. We will be using my Kanban board here showing to-do and done columns to cover today's training sessions. The first card that's in the done column is to set up training. I moved that over there because it's all set up and ready to go. Let's take a look first at the sign-up form. If you go to https://usility.com, you can log in, or if you don't have an account, you can first go to the register page, fill out your name, username, email, company name, and password, and register. At this point, you'll be sent an email with an activation code. You can click the link in the email to activate your account. So when you first log into the Usility system, what you'll see will be a tutorial sprint that has 3 cards to show you around the system. That's how quick and easy it is to get started with Usility. Let's jump back over to the training board. So first off, we just covered the sign-up form. I'm going to accept that card and move it over to done. We covered logging into the system, so I'll accept that, move it over to the done column as well. Next, training on moving cards. Well, a couple different ways to move cards. First, I'll accept this. And you notice we have the to-do column and the done column, but the in-progress column or any other columns are not currently being shown. So we'll double-click on Train on Moving Cards, go in and change the status to in progress, save the card, and when we return, you can see a third column has been shown here for to-do, in progress, and done. The other way to move cards, and I'll train on accepting a card next, so I'll move that over to in progress. The 2 ways to move cards is by dragging them or by double-clicking and editing it from the drop-down. You can change the priority of cards simply by dragging them up or down in the list. If we decided that training on the team page was the most important thing to do, we could move that to the top of the list here. If it's not, we could drag it back down to the bottom of the list somewhere. Train on moving cards, I'm going to drag that over to the done category because I think we've covered that now. Next, we'll train on accepting a card, we'll train on some card details, and then we'll train on how to add a card. To accept a card, there's a couple ways you can do it. First, if you're going to take the card and work on it yourself, you can click the accept button. And each person in the system can be configured with a different color for the card, so you can see what cards are assigned to you by the color. The other way to accept or assign a card is to double-click on it, view the Assign To column, and this is a test account, so it only has my name in it. But for a real account, you'd have multiple people here, and you'd have the ability to go in and assign the card to others. So at this point, train on accepting a card, we'll click Accept there. We'll move that over to the Done column, and we'll take a look at the card details. In Agile, a card usually represents a user story or a task. So let's take a look at what we can do to configure the card to help with that Agile flow. Double-click on the card. We get a story name, Train on the Card Details. And here you could put in your user story. As a user of the system, I need or whatever format that you have based off of your Agile plan of how you normally write user stories. In here you've got the ability to change boards, change status, change who it's assigned to, put in dependencies, meaning this card 3 is set as it depends on card 4, or rank it. Keep in mind the ranking was handled by simply dragging cards up or down in the list. Then there's optional parameters down here. For instance, I set up a backlog type of short-term, long-term, next sprint, and right now. So let's just move this over to right now, and then we'll take a look at acceptance. As with normal user stories, you can add acceptance criteria. I'm going to add a few. Verify that users can click the login button. save and add another, so we can quickly add multiple. Verify the log out button works, just making up some hypothetical here. Save and close. Then you've got the list of acceptance criteria shown here. So you can see who added the acceptance criteria, and then you've got the ability to move them up or down in a list, so you can sort them by order of importance or order of testing. If you use points to estimate user stories, there's a spot here where you can go in and enter points. Don't change how you normally do your estimating. You've just got the ability to go in and enter the points and associate them with a card. Save that, and then we'll take a look at the files page. Here you've got the ability to attach files, PDFs, Excel sheets, mockups, any kind of thing that you would want to attach to a user story. I'm going to choose a file. I'm going to upload this Usility logo. If I add another one now, choose file. We have a gallery here showing the multiple files. Now, if it's an image file, you can see a preview. If it was an Excel spreadsheet or something like that, you'd be able to click through and download it to view it. You can also just click on one of these to see it in full detail. Next is a history. Here you've got the ability to go in and see who changed the story when. Also, if someone changed the priority or changed the order or changed what board it was on, you'd be able to track all that information here to see who is changing, who is working with the cards that you're working on. Next, we have the dependency tree. Here, if you remember from the details page, this story number 3 depends on story number 4 being done. Here you've got the ability to link directly through to story 4 and see that story 4 blocks story 1 and story 3. So you've got the ability to click around and find dependent cards. Dependent cards is one of those things that in the pure textbook agile scenario, it's not usually recommended. In reality, we usually end up with people requesting dependent card. We've built this in to be able to accommodate that. So let's jump back to our board, and that pretty much wraps up the details behind a card or a user story. We'll move that over to done. Next, we'll take a look at adding a card. I'll accept that one as a card I'm going to work on, and I'm going to go up top and click the Add User Story. Like the acceptance criteria, we've got the save and close option as well as the save and add another. So if you have several user stories that you need to enter, you can enter them in fairly rapidly. User story 1, save and add another. Story 2, test, save and close. After you close it, you can see that those 2 stories then show up in our to-do list. We'll move them over to in progress, assuming they're being worked on. And then we can just move them over and drop them at the bottom of the done column right now. Okay, next let's take a look at switching boards and adding boards. Well, we've covered adding cards. We'll move that into done. I'll accept the user story for adding boards and switching boards, because I think we can cover both of those in the same time here. If you notice over on the left side of the screen, there's this gray box, and if you mouse over it, a panel slides out that shows my Kanban boards and shared Kanban boards. Now, there's 2 concepts of boards in the Usility system. The first one is those that are private to me that only I see the contents on. The next is shared ones that I'm going to collaborate on with my team. Here we have the default board, which is the name of the board you get when you first set up the system, and then there's a couple other boards that have been created. If I want to add a board for a new project, I can just click Add Board, give the team or project a name. I'll just name this Team 1. And change the visibility so that it will be account-wide rather than just owner only. Save it. Look over here again. We now have a Team 1 board shown down here. Now let's take these 2 test stories. We'll just move them back out of the done column, back to the to-do column. And let's say we want to move these stories over to that Team 1 board, meaning that Team 1 is going to work on it. So we can double-click on it, change the board over to Team 1, and that's where I realized there was one thing I forgot to do. So the columns that you see across the top here are associated with specific boards. So when you set up a new board, you next need to go in and set up workflow or columns. So I'll accept the workflow or columns training card here. And from here, we can go into the Accounts tab, click Workflow, click on Team 1, which is the board we just added, add a new section. We'll call this just the team. Let's just call it development. Put statuses below this that are related to development. This would be assuming that it's already gone through backlog grooming through the product owner and all that. So we might have a column called sprint planning. These are cards that need to be estimated and done through a sprint plan. We'll add another one called next sprint. We'll add another column and we'll name it to do. We'll add a column in progress and another one to test, and we'll add a final one, done. Now, depending on your definition of done and the number of steps that you have to go through in your process, you can have any number of different workflows here. So now let's jump back to the board. We'll go to the 2 test user stories I set up. We'll assign the first one over to team 1. We'll put this one in the next sprint column, and we'll go over to this one. We'll change it over to the team 1 board and change it to the to-do column. At this point, you can see the cards have disappeared from the board I'm currently looking at. When we jump over to the team 1 board, you can see the cards now exist on the team 1 board. We'll jump back to the default board, which has our train on it. Now, the workflow and columns can be adjusted to whatever you possibly need. We'll move that over here. We'll move the train on the C, the A, and the P parts of a card. We'll move the switching and adding boards over to the done column. Let's accept this one. So you notice when you look at the card, across the bottom of the card, there is either accept text or reject, which clicking accept makes it mine, clicking reject unassigns it from me. There's the C, the P, and the A, and an edit link. Well, the C stands for comments, the P stands for points, and the A stands for acceptance. Now, if you've just set up your own account, you might need to turn on the points because points is turned off by default. You can do that by going into the admin section, clicking on points, and just clicking the enable points checkbox. If you go to your account profile page, user story settings, you can choose to show points on cards or to not show them on cards. We have comments, points, and acceptance criteria. If you want to link directly to acceptance criteria, you could link here, click Add Acceptance, verify something. We'll click back to the boards, and we can now see that acceptance shows 1. This one here was point estimated as 5. Let's assume that we re-estimated it because of more information, and it's actually an 8 now. Jump back to the board, you can see the point values change there. In the comments, on the main story details, if you scroll down to the bottom, there's the ability to add comments, and it shows your initials and when the comment was made. So you might put in here a comment that says something like, initially estimated as an 8, but moved to, oops, not 8, 5, but moved to 8 due to new information. The profile and settings page will accept that, and there's under account, you have profile, boards, workflow, and filters. In here, you've got the ability to go in and change different things on your settings. Under profile, you've got the ability to go in and change your username, change your email. And when I talked about earlier card colors, I'll change the card color from blue to bright green. And when we go back to the board, you'll be able to see that green is now the color associated with my cards. Under security, you've got the ability to go in and change your password. Notifications, you can get email notification when a card is assigned to you. Under the story settings, you've got the ability to show the cards based off of the color of who it's assigned to, or just show them all in one color. You can hide cards beyond a certain priority since they're prioritized from the top down. Let's say a product owner decided that they were going to have a really, really huge backlog. You'd have the ability to go in and just trim it so you're only seeing the most important cards. And then the show points on cards that we talked about earlier option is here. Next, let's take a look at filters. Now, over time, what's going to happen as you get more and more cards into the system is you're going to want to be able to filter on certain criteria. For instance, I've set up some default filters here. One of them is called long-term, which means any cards that have been set with the backlog of long-term, I can click on that, and these two have parameters. If we double-click on it and see that the backlog type has been set to long-term. If we go back, our filter sticks until we change it. If I want to look at all those cards that are assigned to me, we can see that all of these, but on this one, see all the cards that are assigned to me, no matter what status they're in. If we decided this one wasn't really done, but it needs to move back to the in progress column, we save it, and I can still see just all of the cards that are assigned to me. Drag it back over to done. And then the way you do it is you go into choose edit filters, and you can filter by any workflow. You can give it a backlog type, and that's what we were doing on the long-term one. Team filters, you can go and assign and filter by any cards that a person has created or who they've been assigned to. Filters is a great way to keep track of the cards that you have on your board, the cards that are assigned to you, and to be able to filter down exactly what you need to look at. For now, we'll remove the filter, and next let's take a look at the team page. I'll move this over to that one over to done. We'll train on the team page, and let's train on the team page. So here, team is where you add additional members onto your team. Here we can see that I'm the only user set up on this account. If I want to add a team member, I could just go and assign them a login name, give them a first name and last name and an email, and a password will be generated, emailed to that user. They'll be allowed to log. Next, let's take a look at the latest tab. And one of the things that I see people doing with any kind of board or when you're working with a lot of stories is occasionally you might lose a story. Let's say I go to add a user story and I accidentally put it on a different board than where I thought I put it. I could be hunting around all day to find that. But we've got under the latest tab here, you've got the ability to go in and find latest added stories, click right through to it and see where that story was placed. You've also got the ability to go in and see latest changes. So you can see which cards have been changed most recently. This is just a quick way that if you move a card or drag a card and you don't realize where you put it, you can quickly go find it. Or you can just keep track of what's interesting that is being worked on by other people. Next, let's take a look at training on the PDF print page. One of the things with Usility is a lot of people might be using corkboards with push pins and 4x6 cards and things like that to manage their workflow. Usility integrates and works well in that environment. One of the things we can do here is we've got this little icon next to the headings up here. We can click that and choose Print Cards to PDF. And what this does is it takes all the cards shown in the current view on the current column and it converts them over to a PDF file that can then be set to your printer. We can either print right now 4x6 index cards or 8.5x11 full page. Start with the index cards in landscape mode. Print that. I have an inkjet printer that I can feed 4x6 cards into if I need to print cards out and put them on a corkboard for managing a certain workflow. All right, so at this point, that really wraps up the training. Let's switch over here. Keep in mind that if you want to try out Usility, my recommendation is that you go to usility.com, you click the register link down at the bottom, and then you go through the sign-up form, register for a free trial account, and get logged in and give it a try. And if anybody has any questions, they can follow up with me. You can find me on Twitter as Usility Steve. Thanks for watching today.